Hello.
Hi, David.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, and you?
I'm great. Thank you. I
Great.
see people are starting to join, so we'll give them like 1 or 2 minutes. If
Okay.
you don't,
Okay.
if you want, in the meantime, to share a bit about your trip to Brazil, I think we would love to hear that.
Yeah, it was a great trip. So I started in the northeast of Brazil. I flew from France, so I went to Germany, France northeast, and I met with my parents and brother there. So we had a relaxing week there, visiting different beaches and so on, including driving on the dunes, which was
Wow,
quite fun. Yeah, it was
sounds
a
scary.
first experience. It was scary, it was, but it was like a paradise. I have never imagined anything like that. It's like a beach in the middle of the dunes, and you drive there, and so on. It was quite beautiful.
Wow, I'm imagining last year I did for the first time ever, I did like snowboarding. So I'm imagining it's like kind of like a similar feeling, but being inside a car, it has to be strange.
Yeah,
But very
I
cool.
haven't done snowboarding so far. I have thought, but never.
Yeah,
Though,
I for years I wanted to ski or snowboard, and every year was like, no, it's, and I just thought it was never gonna happen ever.
it's
Uh yeah, and I thought that but last year finally I had the chance to do it. Just a second.
it was a fun adventure. But I had to get a guide there to help me because it's quite dangerous to drive alone in the dunes, because I had a Jeep Renegade rented. And then a lot of people were signaling like, be careful, be careful. And then one guy that came with a motorcycle, and I was a bit scared. And then he approached and he said, you can drive there, but you need some help. Otherwise you get your car stuck. So let me help you. I said, okay, better do that.
Cool. So I think we are ready to start. I think we can start. Let me just
Sure.
share my. So I prepared very few slides just to make things a bit maybe a bit more formal, and then we'll take it off so that we can see you better, I guess. Just a second. So I'm going to share my screen. This one. Great, and slideshow. So hi everyone, thank you for joining us for our first Retro Talks. I'm very happy to have David Pereira with us for this one. What is going to happen today? So we're going to do a quick intro about Go Retro and what we're doing. Then we're going to get to know David a tiny bit more. And then we're going to talk about retros, basically. We will have some time at the end for questions and answers, but if you have anything that comes to mind while we're talking, please feel free to write it down already. So a bit about Go Retro. Basically, we are a team of developers. We share a challenge we believe many dev teams are sharing, right? We always want to deliver more. We under deliver, we over plan, all these things, and we definitely want to continuously improve. We found that the retrospective is the most important ceremony in Scrum, basically. So we decided to start there. So using Go Retro, you can run simple, fun, engaging retrospectives. You can increase engagement. You can follow up on action items. We have a full section of data-driven, if you'd like to see that as well. And super excited to say that coming soon, we're going to release something completely new, which we call currently Sprint Professional, which will allow you to not just focus on retrospectives, but also manage your sprint, prepare for planning better. We'll have a session about that next month, so stay tuned for that. So I had a lot to say about David, but I didn't want to take all our time, and I will let him introduce himself a bit more as well. But just so you know that David is a product leader with over 10 years of experience with Agile teams and product management. He's a top writer on Medium, so if you haven't seen any of his blogs or articles yet, definitely go and do that after the session. He writes mostly about Scrum and product management. And he's everywhere else, right? So you can find him on Udemy, YouTube, podcasts, blogs, and more. David, would you like to introduce yourself a bit as well?
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. So I would say I'm a very curious person. So I started my career as a developer and I was super curious understanding which problems we solve. So I annoyed a lot of people with questions, and that's how I got into product management. And since then, it has been a journey. Different companies, like different business model, like B2B, B2C, startups, public companies, and government companies. So many things. And most of the stories I share are related to something I did incorrectly, and I learned how to do it differently. And I share that, hoping that people can avoid the traps that I've fallen into. And that's why I love sharing. I'm really passionate about product management. I love solving problems and empowering teams and making change. So I think that even if you make a change for a small group of people, it's already significant. So if you make something better, so that's what I strive for. And currently I am in Germany. So I'm leading a team of product managers at Virtual Identity. And soon I'm also starting my own business focused on product management.
Amazing. Good luck with that.
Yep.
And if you missed the beginning, he just got back from a vacation in Brazil. So also really exciting. We're going to try to do a quick poll just to see if everyone is with us. So if you don't mind, go to menti.com, use this code and tell us what you need most in your retrospectives. So we'll give you a minute to do that. By the way, thanks, David, for introducing me to this app. It's super cool. I
Welcome.
used it a lot.
I use this quite a lot, actually.
I think that I will start as well. I've already started, and I have a feeling it's not going to be my last time. Wait. Okay, we're starting to see some data. Ooh. I love how it looks like. Wow, no one needs fun. That's really, I hope this means a good thing. Okay, just a bit more. See if we have any other responses. Okay, so definitely, I think most of people agree that we need more engagement in the meeting. I think it kind of relates to fun, right? If it's fun, people tend to engage a bit more. Real data, as I mentioned, this is something we also do, and we definitely see that it increases engagement. People love to comment about data. They don't always love what the data says, but it definitely makes them talk about it. And focus, yeah, this is really hard to get as well. David, just a few, like a bit of food for thought for you if you want to share, like focus your stories a bit on these topics. Sure. Thank you for participating. I do have one more slide here. How do I switch to the next one? Here it is. And what would you like us to focus on? So it's like there's going to be like a word cloud. So if you want to add a bit of input again to help David focus on his stories and what he should share, because I know he has a lot of stories and not a lot of time to share all of them. Ooh.
Arguments.
I love how it's so big here.
Motivate the team, stop blaming, make the team. I guess I have some things to share around this.
Ooh, dominating participants. I like that one.
People don't talk. That happens sometimes when they don't see.
Yeah, I love that I see both things. So one, sometimes people complain about people talking too much, but also people complain about people not talking at all. Okay, ooh, nothing very, very big, but okay, let's give it a tiny bit more. Let's see if something else pops up. So open to change. Oh, that's a hard one. Tasks for retros. Okay, so I do see some repeating stuff. Action items, action points, action, more ideas. Oh, more ideas, definitely. David has a lot of those.
Yeah.
Ooh. Great. One person takes the stage, people don't talk. Creative thinking, ownership, continuous learning. Cool. Thank you very much for your ideas. We'll keep that. I will actually take off the sharing so we won't see that because I do want us to focus on it. David, if you want me to repeat afterwards a bit of the words, just let me know.
Sure. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so I think we are ready to get started. So I would like to start. I thought it was an easy one, but maybe not so much. What is your favorite thing about running retrospectives?
My favorite thing about retrospectives is
About running them.
About running them.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to running retrospective, it is like creating opportunities to make the team a bit better. And it's not about like finding a massive opportunity and then transform the team from whatever they are now to a high performing team. Because a lot of people think that there is a shortcut, and there's no shortcut, but there is incremental improvements that will lead the team to something great. So I love running retrospective to create hope that the team can become better if they take one step at a time.
Yeah, well, that's I think it's so important. I think it's really important to remind that to the teams as well, right? Because like you said, people think there are shortcuts. So they think, okay, we did a retrospective, we created an action item, but we're still not so much better. So why put the effort into it, right? But it's true. It's all about these small incremental changes. That's really good. Is there a different answer for what you love about retrospectives? Because that was a question you thought I asked. Maybe you have an interesting question.
Yeah, what I love about retrospective is like helping the team see themselves as a hero. Because connected to what I shared, it's very easily the teams, like without retrospective, to feel victims of the circumstances. And then it is bad. We always receive features to deliver and we have no guidance. And then maybe there's some external factors that disturb the team, but they don't act upon it. They just complain. But then the retrospective is a room to see what can we do as a team. We are the hero of our stories. And that is the card we have. What can we do right now to change it? So I think the retrospective has the magic, when done right, which is not all the time, to change it, to create this, moving from victims to heroes.
I feel like I want a T-shirt that says we're the we're the heroes of our story. I love that one. Cool. So you touched a bit about this, and I think people also mentioned that in our poll. How do you ensure that your team's retro is a safe place, right? Not blaming, but actually creating this opportunity to become heroes and improve?
Yeah, that comes with trust, and trust is built upon vulnerability. So is a team allowed to fail? Because if it is an environment where the team has no permission to fail, they will not open up, because then it will be like they have a fear of being perceived as weak, and they don't want that. But once trust is built, then the team can grow. So I have been in many scenarios where I lacked a Scrum Master, and I was a product owner or product manager in the setup, and someone had to run the retrospective. And the team generally wanted to skip that, but for me, it's a very important moment. And I believe teams will only see value in retrospective and see this once it is a safe space. So I generally started using the retrospective to show vulnerabilities. And I would start complaining about something I did wrong. I would say I like one retrospective, which is a matrix, and I put like how happy you are. So the first one, you are totally unhappy, and the neutral, and then you're happy. So these are the three levels. And then I look at people and interactions, processes, and our quality. So the technology we use and the quality we deliver. And the first day I did that, I put that I was unhappy with someone, and someone was me in this case. And I said, I think I misled the team over the last sprint because I did this and this. And then I said, I'm not very happy with what I did. And this was the opener, the team needed to start sharing more. And then they felt, yeah, it's a safe room, we can talk. I know that in Scrum, there is no hierarchy, but teams tend to perceive the product owner as a little bit different because product owner has more access to executives and so on, but everyone was in the same level. But by being vulnerable, then we had a space that we needed to talk about the right things, talk about our mistakes and say what we could do differently. And there's one secret I like doing, I call it the prime directive. All retrospectives, I started the same way. I started by reading that and say, we are here to learn from each other and do something better next time. No matter what happened, we believe and we trust each other that we have done our best. So here is about learning, not judgment. And just by saying this, it is a room that you can expose yourself, and like, it's a reminder that people need in the beginning, and it helps them arrive in the retrospective.
Yeah, I really agree. I sometimes have this feeling that, you know, developers are maybe a bit more on the cynical side, and if they feel like we're talking about this is kind of like, you know, they don't really, you know, see the point in mentioning this. But I really agree. When you hear it, and when you hear it over and over again, you know, it has an effect on people, and it really helps. And I think my favorite thing that you said is kind of like leading by example, right? You're being vulnerable allows people being vulnerable as well. That's really, really good. Great. What will I ask next? Let's see. Oh, this one I like. Tell us about a retro template that you used that was a complete disaster, and why. If you have something, if you don't know David, he has amazing templates and he does really amazing creative stuff. But do you have one that was terrible?
Well, I had many that didn't go as I expected. I remember once that I wanted to say, there was a template to talk about how you felt, what drove you mad, and what we were excited about. And this word mad had a super bad connotation. And then the team started discussing about the word, and they forgot about the retrospective. And they were trying to make up something that drove them mad. And they said, well, what drove me mad? What was it? What was it? And then they started really talking about the word mad. And I just wanted to see something that we could work on. And someone, I remember, presented, what drove me mad is like, my code review took 2 days for someone to pick it up and give me the result. And then I had really little time to finish. Then the developer reacted, seriously, did that drive you mad? You didn't raise this concern during the daily, I didn't think it was such a big deal. So the word mad there was really bad, because everything everyone shared, it was challenged by someone else, because it was seen as something super big. Then I stopped using this because it was not what I wanted. I wanted the team just to open up and say, share something that wasn't helpful, something that it annoyed them. So I changed this. What annoyed you? Annoyed is a lower level than madness, because mad, they said, oh, if I'm mad, it means I'm really angry. I may want to punch someone. So that was a disaster, because I don't like intervene. I try like moderating, but in this case, I had to intervene all the time, saying, is this discussion helpful to what we want to agree? Now we want to learn from the others, and then we want to come up with actions. Remember? I said, yeah, but I don't agree that this action would drive him mad. I disagree with that. So then they were mad during their sprint retrospective.
I have to say that I think we also tried that once, and people also didn't know how to react to saying what they were mad about. And I'm pretty sure someone said that he was mad about the template. So I don't know why this specific template can get people upset. Yeah. Cool. Do you have, by the way, like, I don't even have this in my questions, but do you have like a favorite template or like your go-to template?
Well, it depends. I like alternating with simple templates. Actually, for me, the retrospective is more like a journey. So I have a kind of recipe. I want some things to happen during the retrospective. I call like, first it's a prime directive. And the prime directive, I said that I read, but you need to believe in that. It's not just about reading, it's about engaging people. So I don't read, I rephrase something that is there with my own words all the time a bit differently. So that's how I start. And then it needs to have a moment, a kind of icebreaker, then helps the team arrive. Then after I will go into the actions that we agreed upon, and then have a discussion like what have we done and what we haven't and why. And then it goes to the dynamic. And after the dynamic, I will have agree on action and then tune out. Like, how do you leave the meeting? How successful was that? So I alternate different templates for each of them. But to the core part of learning, I mentioned the one I like the most, it's the metrics, because it brings different perspectives. So this one is when I want to learn about interaction, technology, and processes, what is happening. This gives me an idea, and I try repeating this, for example, every 4th sprint, because then I can see if we are moving from like something that we are unhappy with to something that we are satisfied. Another one I like a lot is it's a very simple one. It's about discussing, for example, what helped us, what didn't help us, and what could we do differently during the next sprint. So just asking this because it gives some idea. I like also the 4 L's. So these are the ones that I try doing. But the secret for me is don't use the same template twice in a row. If you do that, people come prepared, because in the beginning, that's what I used to do. Actually, I had 2 templates and I was alternating. And sometimes I got so into the things that I repeated. And then people came very prepared. They had everything noted down, and it was mechanical. So it was not really authentic. They were not saying what was annoying them or what they wanted to share. It was something they prepared. Then when I started changing the template, some people got annoyed with me saying, no, I was prepared for the other. So bring the other back. I don't want this one. And that's not the goal. You don't want a mechanical retrospective. You want something engaging, as people said here. So one of the reasons of not having engaging is if you keep repeating the template.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But something really interesting that I understand from what you're saying is that, yeah, the people, they don't see the template, they don't have a chance to add their input in advance, right? You don't do that. Because a lot of times we hear people that they really like allowing the team to add their input during the sprint already, because they worry that if they only add input during the retrospective, they don't remember what happened during the sprint. Do you have maybe like a tip to kind of like jog their memory
Well, this is something I see, for example, many teams think that the only moment they can give feedback is the retrospective. And this is wrong. The retrospective is the room to step back and reflect on the work and see what we can do differently. And what I encourage teams, like, if you need a retrospective to share feedback, then we have a problem. Why don't you just share when happened? Just share with the others. And then the retrospective is something more global. So that is why I don't like sharing beforehand, because then the feedback becomes kind of only in the retrospective. Oh, we have a room for that. I say, well, the room is more like, how can we get better as a team? But for example, if someone didn't review your code for 2 days, and that is happening on, like, let's say, in the 3rd day of the retrospective, 3rd day of the sprint, why don't you just tell the person? Would you wait for the end of the sprint to tell that? So then you're missing opportunities. So that is why I encourage the teams, and whenever I see something happening, people taking notes, I ask them, like, maybe this is something you would like to share with the team. Is it important to the team? So no, I'm thinking about sharing in the retrospective. Say, well, we have time now. Share. Maybe it helps us right now to make a change. And then I got surprised, because then after you do this, people start sharing more often. And in the retrospective, they use as really the moment to step back and reflect.
Got it. That's super interesting. I really like the fact that it really reminds me of what you said about the guy didn't think he got the other guy mad, right? Because he didn't say anything about it, right? He waited until the retrospective, right? Cool. Something that we hear a lot. So of course, action items, getting action items and acting upon them is super important for retrospective, right? But we hear that a lot of people are really struggling with actually taking them and doing something with them. Any tips you can share to help with that?
Yes, sure. First, make the action item as small as possible. And make the action item actionable. You need to be able to see if that is achievable or not. Because I see many action items as attitudes. For example, whenever a stakeholder comes to us, we will challenge the stakeholder if the request is unrelated to our sprint goal. So this is a whenever attitude. So this is an attitude. The action would be, for example, we will give feedback to the stakeholders and inform them that requests during the sprint should be related to the sprint if they want us to get that done, for example, during the sprint. So the stakeholder will receive feedback. And then an action for me that is valuable is very clearly defined. It's who will do what by when. So by when can be the end of the sprint, and who is generally a person. So I like already assigning accountability during this sprint retrospective. And what you're going to do should be clear. So you will provide written feedback to the stakeholder, or you will make an agreement, something like this. And the who there, if the person wants to delegate, it's fine, but you are accountable for that happening. So I make it clear. And the next time, what I do with the actions, the very first thing and the retrospective after the icebreak is looking into the actions and navigating. And what I will do, I will ask the person who is accountable, what happened with this? I didn't get done. I said, but you committed to the team that you would make it happen. Do you think it's fair to commit to something and not do? So I try bringing this aspect, and then the person will say, well, yeah, I didn't get to my attention and so on. So then I say, okay, didn't get to your attention. So maybe what you can do next time is to create an item in the backlog and put in the sprint and assign to you. Then it will be visible on the board. Because many people think that the board is only about features. No, it's about what the team has to do, or the team committed. So make actionables clear, make actions actionable, and make maximum of 3. And they can be small. They can be steps towards what you want to do. For example, you can say like, we have a problem with our release. The release happens only once every 3 months. So, and you say, I want to have release every day. So you cannot get to a release every day from 3 months to every day. Then you can say, we want to have what is the step to get you closer? Define one single step during the retrospective. And I give the team proper time for that. The action is not something you come up with in 5 minutes. I give at least 20 minutes for the team to discuss and come up with a max of 3 actions, not more than that. If you come with more than that, you need to prioritize. Because when I see teams committing to more than 3 actions, generally, funny enough, none of them happen because they start talking and then they don't do anything. But when they commit to maybe 2 or 3, they get all done. So it's about small steps helping the team get where they want.
Right. I totally agree with this. I think a lot of teams try to cover all of the cards, people raise and try to talk about everything. And definitely you can't you can't do all of them. It's really important to focus. And I think one of something important people mentioned that they want more of in their retros is focus. So this is one really good way to do that. Do you ever follow up during the sprint on action items, or you say they are owning it and we'll see at the next retro what happened?
It depends on the seniority of the team. If I see the team is not doing anything regarding the action, I will make it clear. I will make clear in the daily. I will say, I haven't heard anything about the action items. Is there anything I could do to help? Or if I committed to something, because many times as a product person, I commit to the action item, and then I try making that done as soon as possible. And then during the daily, I share with the team. And then I just say, I'm curious about the other ones. What's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's important to keep them alive and take them seriously. Generally, with let's say a less senior team, put in this the sprint backlog, because then they will see that that there is something to act upon.
Great. Just a reminder for everyone listening to us, there are no questions yet. We have like about 10 more minutes, so I'll continue asking questions. If you don't have any questions, don't worry about it. But if there's something I'm not talking about and you want to ask David, then let me know. I think, you know what, let's jump a bit back to the word cloud. So I saw a bunch of stuff other than action items about blame. Anything you want to mention about that? Because I did hear you, I wouldn't say blaming, but you know, when people are not following up on their action items, there is a tiny bit of maybe blame. How do you avoid getting
Blame
there?
So blame can happen in two situations. One that is super bad is when it is blaming our current problems, blaming the outside world about the problems we have right now. So this you need to move from like we cannot do anything about it to what could we do to influence them. Example is our roadmaps are only related to features. We only have features to deliver and we don't know which problem we are solving. So which action could you do? As a product team or Scrum team, you can make it clear that delivering feature without knowing the problem, you may end up solving the wrong problem and creating another. And then you ask the business, is that what you want? Do you want us to invest in things that are uncertain? Or would you like us to achieve goals? We have better ways of working. So the influence would be providing feedback and giving them another alternative. In the end of the day, it would be the management decision, but you are at least trying something. So instead of blaming them, agree on how you try to influence. So this is one type of the blaming, outside role, but it can happen inside the team. So one example, very classic, it is about designers and developers. So designers say developers keep cutting corners and what I designed is not what was produced. And then developers will say, designers keep making it more complicated. I don't understand why 2 pixels will ever make a difference. So how do you solve this puzzle? You need to tell them, neither one nor the other is right or wrong. Let's step back and understand what do we want to achieve, and then you have an argument. You need to move from opinions to evidence, saying like, how what you were saying contributes to achieve the goal we want. And then the developer can say, we have a deadline to deliver in 2 weeks. So we need to fit the design for 2 weeks, for example, and then we can achieve this. And the designer can say, okay, why do we have this deadline then? I want to challenge the deadline. If we want to deliver a valuable experience, we should have more time because otherwise we don't get to this. The users will get confused. Then you can have a conversation based on how to achieve something instead of saying, oh, you make my life harder. So you need to understand what is the conflict. The developer maybe feel pressured because I need to deliver something in 2 weeks, and the designer feels pressured because needs to ensure the user experience is right. But none of them are talking about the real problem. Yeah. So I think it is moving from opinions to evidence and facts. So this is one thing, and then someone needs to moderate this conversation and trying to bring the conflict to the table and solve the conflict. It is about the situation. It's not about you need to move from personal attacks, because that can happen quite easily, to a situation that happened, and try to move to a feedback that is situation, feeling, and then consequence. So I try saying like this. I rephrase to help the I've seen this discussion all the time, and then I say, okay, let me rephrase. What you were saying is when the UI designer rejected your application for the third time, you went mad because you thought it was unfair and you didn't understand why. It would have helped you having a conversation in the beginning to understand. Is that correct? So I try rephrasing and then having a better conversation. But you need to move away from personal attacks to the situation. So that's what I try to do. It's not easy. You need someone experienced in the room, if you have an experienced Scrum Master, and then say, what are we going to do different from now on?
Yeah, I agree. I think, by the way, I love this technique. I don't know if anyone here saw Couples Therapy, the TV show. It's amazing, and I've learned a lot of these really great techniques from there. It works really well. Great. So we didn't talk enough, I think, about some mistakes or failures. What is your favorite mistake that you've done with retrospective?
I think the favorite mistake is trying to make the retrospective shorter. So you try making that so fast that then you don't really have the time to talk about things. So you say, okay, let's get to the point. Let's take the dynamic and boom, let's keep the prime directive. Let's not have an icebreaker. And then start thinking, why do we need an icebreaker? We work together, we know each other. Let's just go to what worked well, what didn't work, what can we do differently, and then agree on actions. So why is this bad? This is bad because imagine the following. People are just working on many things and they might be super stressed. So you have just finished your sprint and so on. And then you rush. That is your attitude. You rush the retrospective because you are saying the retrospective is not that relevant. So the sign you send to the team is it is not allowed to step back and reflect on what you could do better. So we are just squeezing in something here, but it's not that important. The most important is to keep shipping features at the speed of light. So all time you have, focus on that. Retrospective here is just like 50 minutes every second week. So this will have the negative effect. Then people will start saying, let's skip. Why do we need this? So I tend to say a minimum you should invest in retrospective is 1.5 hours for a 2-week sprint. And it's non-negotiable. You don't skip that, but you do it right. And ideally you leave 2 hours because then you can have some time to go deep into the discussion. Because if you keep on the very superficial level, then you don't find the problem. So this is what I recommend people not doing. It's a classic mistake. Rushing with retrospective will have a negative effect.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Just yesterday, I talked to someone and she said, yeah, we didn't do the icebreakers because we don't have time. I didn't want to waste time on that. And then I asked her, how long is the meeting? And she said 2 hours. I was like, so you don't have time? Like, no, actually, the retrospective is just 30 minutes out of a 2-hour meeting that we're doing. And I felt like, yeah, so this is like really missing the point. You really need to put, put the time and the effort and the spotlight on the retrospective, right? It's really, really important.
And I generally, when I see this situation, I ask, what happens if we don't invest proper time? Probably the team will fall into a vicious circle. So they think they are not allowed to make themselves better. They're just not allowed. And then what they have in their hearts that is hurting them, they will not share with anyone. And within time, the team will deteriorate. So instead of becoming a high-performing team, they will become a low-performing team. And that's because you decided not to invest 1 more hour into a valuable thing. Then this 1 hour per sprint will start costing you probably in terms of performance, days of performance. So that is the negative effect.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that today is even could be even worse because it's not just becoming a lower performing team, but today, I don't know, like at least here in Israel, developers always get so many, like job offerings that people, when they're just a tiny bit unhappy or just think that there might be something better out there, they don't hesitate, right? They move. If they're not happy, they move. And it's super important that developers today feel good about what they're doing, right? About their environment, about what the process is. And if they're not improving, if they're feeling low, if the processes are not working for them, you're just going to lose them. And then, of course, you're going to have even lower performance when you're missing team members.
Yes. Yeah, I fully agree with you. But the effect is not only on the performance, it's on the morale. So the morale of the team goes down because many people think employees leave their jobs because they are underpaid and they get a higher paid job. Well, that is one of the aspects, but they leave because they are underappreciated. If you don't feel appreciated, and retrospective is a moment that your opinion can count. Once you bring something up and you act upon it, you can see how that changed your team. So it's one of the ways of appreciating. And if you cut this, then it starts hurting. As I said, developers receive offers. So that is just let's say feeding their motivation to accept another place.
Exactly. So we just have a few last minutes. So I want to stop with my questions and ask you if there's anything that you wanted to raise or talk about that we haven't done so far. Maybe share a story that you wanted to share.
Well, I have a lot of stories to share.
We might have to invite you again, David.
Yeah, it's fine. One thing that people raised in the beginning, they're the ones taking over all the space and talking a lot, and the ones not talking.
Yeah.
So you can time box. That is one thing you can do. And it goes really with team seniority, because like the longer the team works together, the more they will connect and help each other talk. But in the beginning, if they are not used to that, it can happen like this. So what I try doing when people are sharing, I limit. I say you have 3 minutes to share, and then everyone will have the same speaking time, 3 minutes. And then when we're talking about actions, that is more spontaneous. And what I try doing is observing who is not talking. And what you can try doing, you can make something on your team and understand where is the power center and where are the influencers and where are the outsiders. So just draw 3 circles and then you position. Generally on the power center, you have 2-3 people, maximum generally is around 2. And then the influencers are the ones who are like more, people trust them, but they don't talk a lot. And then you have the outsiders, always quiet. But this doesn't mean their opinions don't matter. They're just quiet. So what I try doing is giving them some airtime. When I see they are quiet and people are discussing about action, you name it. You say, hey, I noticed you are quite silent, but I'm curious to hear your perspective because I value your opinion. So what do you think about it? And then this person will come to the stage. And what you are doing with that, you're showing the team that you care about the other who is silent. So then the others will start gaining more airtime. And then you ensure that the one who is talking too much will reduce. So keep doing this. When you see someone talking a lot, you say, you shared your opinion, you made a strong case, but let's listen to the other. Let's listen to the ones that are quiet, because we are a team. We want to listen to everyone and make the best decision for us. So try doing this. You need to moderate. You need to interrupt people. At some point in time, you see that someone doesn't stop talking. Then you need to go there and intervene. It's not easy, but I think it is very helpful for the team in the medium long run. The effect on the short run is it's very little, but in the medium long run, the team starts self-managing, self-organizing, because the beauty will happen when the team starts saying, you're silent, I'm not hearing your voice, can you share with me? And then you start being more like quiet, if you are the Scrum Master in this case, and then you participate less. Then it means that your team is growing.
More quiet, but more proud, right? I just imagine feeling like, oh, the babies are all grown up now.
Exactly.
Amazing. Great. So we were running out of time, so I want to make sure I have enough time to say thank you very much, David, for joining us today. I thought it was super, super interesting. Like I said, we might have to invite you once again, because I do know you have a lot of other stories to share. Thank you, everyone, for joining us as well. This will be uploaded to our channel as well, so you'll have a chance to rewatch it, and anyone that didn't have the chance to join us today will be able to see that as well. So have a great day, everyone, and you too, David. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And then just connect with me on LinkedIn and
Yeah,
we can
definitely.
exchange. If you have any questions, just drop me a message and we can talk.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.